Let me ask you a question. If there was an upcoming District 10 launch, one of the reasons I'm paying attention now is the fact that it has only 212 units. It's surrounded by landed homes, sitting on land acquired at a significantly lower cost than some of the latest GLS sites. Wouldn't you expect everyone to be talking about it? But strangely enough, very few people are. And that's exactly why this project caught my attention. Now here's the funny thing, we still don't have all the project details. No pricing, limited information, and yet it has already made it into my watch list. And why? Because there are three things that stand out. A number, a misconception, and a buyer profile. And I think all three could end up being more important than most buyers realize. Now before we go further, let me be clear. This is not a project review, because we simply don't have enough information for that yet. Instead, this is a watch list analysis. Why this project is on my radar, and what I think buyers should pay attention to. And perhaps most importantly, why I think many people are looking at this project the wrong way. So let's start with the first thing that caught my attention, and that is the size of the project. Now Amberwood is expected to have around 212 units, so in today's market, that's relatively small. Many recent launches have become much larger, but 500 units, 800 units, or even some crossing 1000 units. And there's nothing wrong with that. Larger projects often come with more facilities and greater economies of scale. But not everyone wants to live in a mega development. A project with around 212 units creates a very different living experience. So potentially less crowding, a more quieter environment, a stronger sense of exclusivity. Of course, there are also trade-offs. You may have fewer facilities, so the maintenance costs are spread across fewer owners. So smaller doesn't automatically mean better, but it does mean different. For some District 10 buyers, exclusivity matters just as much as having every facility under the sun. So if you are someone who values privacy and a quieter environment, this could become one of Amberwood's most underrated strengths. I think the common mistake buyers can make is assuming Amberwood is a Holland Village project. When people hear the word Holland, certain images immediately come to mind. Restaurants, cafes, nightlife, lifestyles, and weekend hangouts. But personally, I think that's the wrong way to evaluate Amberwood. The more I look at it, the more I think this isn't a Holland Village story. It's a low-density, District 10 family story. And those are very different buyer profiles. One buyer wants to be in the middle of action, the other just wants peace and privacy while maintaining connected to amenities. So personally, I think Amberwood will appeal more strongly to the second group. People who enjoy being near lifestyle amenities but don't necessarily want them right outside their doorstep. Let's do a quick poll and let me know in the comments. Would you rather live right beside Holland Village or live in a quieter landed enclave nearby? I'm genuinely curious where most viewers stand. If I were evaluating Amberwood, I would focus less on the Holland branding and more on the quality of the residential environment, because I think that's where the real story lies. Now, let's talk about what could become one of Amberwood's strongest demand drivers, and that is schools. Schools inevitably become part of the conversation, and that is for good reason. Many families make housing decisions years in advance. Not because they are trying to time the market, but because they are planning for their children's future. So this creates a different type of demand. Unlike investors, families often buy with a longer time horizon. They may stay throughout multiple market cycles, and they also may be less concerned about short-term fluctuations. And because of that, developments supported by strong owner-occupier demand often enjoy a deeper yet more stable buyer group. So schools alone do not guarantee future price growth. Nothing works that way. But schools can help support long-term demand. One thing I have observed over the years is that family-driven demand tends to be more predictable than investor-driven demand. And that's why whenever I evaluate a project, I pay close attention to the family story. And Amberwood appears to be worth watching. Now, let's talk about something that should be of interest to you as a buyer. Land cost. Most buyers focus on selling price, and developers focus on the acquisition costs. So this is where Amberwood becomes interesting. The site for Amberwood was acquired at 1,432 PSF per plot ratio. So we compare that to the more recent GLS results, Dunnan Road and Peck Hay Road. The difference between Amberwood and Peck Hay is actually more than 400 PSF per plot ratio. And in property, especially a new launch, that is not a small difference. So when we come to the selling price of a development, there are actually many other variables involved, like the interest rate, government policies, economic conditions, and of course the buyer demand. But however, rising land costs increase the likelihood that future launches may need to launch at a higher price. When I see a large gap between older and newer land acquisition, this is where you should pay attention. Not because it guarantees anything, but because replacement cost stories often become more relevant over time. And that's one of the reasons Amberwood landed on my watch list. So who do I think should really consider Amberwood? First will be families, particularly buyers looking for a quiet environment and strong education considerations. Second will be upgraders, so for buyers aspiring to own a District 10 property without necessarily stretching into the highest price brackets. Third will be those right size, particularly those who enjoy Bukit Timah and Holland area and wish to remain nearby. On the other hand, if your top priority is to live directly beside an MRT station or having Holland Village right downstairs, so this project may not be the ideal fit, and that's perfectly okay. Every project serves a different audience. One mistake I often see buyers make is trying to find the best project. The better question is, which project best suits your needs? And the answer is different for everyone. Before we get too excited about Amberwood, there are three things I'm watching closely. Number one will be the pricing. This is by far the most important factor. Number two, the unit layouts. So good layouts can significantly improve a project's attractiveness. Number three will be the site planning and the block positioning, the views, privacy, and potential noise exposure. So all these details matter. So while Amberwood is already on my watch list, there are still important questions that need to be answered. If I am looking at Amberwood, there are two things I'll be looking for. First will be the sensible pricing, and secondly will be the efficient layouts. If the project gets both right, I think it could attract a lot more attention than people expect. So what do I like about Amberwood? I like that it's a low density development, District 10 location, family appeal, and the potential replacement cost story. Whereas for connectivity and the limited information available right now, I'm still quite neutral. But I'll be watching closely on the pricing, layouts, and the site plan. Now at this stage, Amberwood remains one of the launches I'm paying closest attention to right now. Not because it has the most information available, but because it possesses several characteristics that stand out. A D10 address, a relatively low density development, a project that appears to tick a lot of boxes for family buyers. Whether these advantages ultimately translate into strong demand will depend heavily on the pricing. But for now, Amberwood is definitely on my watch list. It's a low density D10 family story, so let me know what you think in the comments. I will continue to share updates, pricing analysis, and eventually comparisons with other projects. So where does that leave us? At this stage, Amberwood remains one of the launches I'm paying attention to, not because we have all the answers, but because several pieces of the puzzle are already interesting. Of course, none of these factors guarantee success. Pricing will ultimately be critical, the layouts will matter, and the site planning will matter. And until those details are released, these are important questions that need answers. But based on what we know today, Amberwood has definitely earned a place on my watch list. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If Amberwood launched tomorrow, would you seriously consider it? And more importantly, would you choose Amberwood, Dunnan House, Thomson Reserve, or Lentor Gardens? Let me know in the comments below. I have linked my Dunnan House and Thomson Reserve reviews here, because I think many of you will be comparing these projects side by side. You can check them out here. I read every comment personally, and I'm always curious to know how different buyers think about these projects. If you have found this analysis useful, do consider subscribing, as I will continue covering Amberwood as more information becomes available, so including the pricing analysis, plot plans, and of course, comparison against other upcoming launches. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!